Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to study some interesting stuff about the JavaScript progress bar. So you might have noticed that some websites have these very cool looking progress bar, so that when you enter into the website and it is taking up some time to load up the website, so we have a progress bar which moves ahead slightly with respect to time. So it gives a very nice feel while creating a website. So when a user visits a website, so it is better to have a progress bar so that the user understands the required amount of time which it is going to take in order to load up the web page. So instead of just making the user wait, it is much more preferable if we have a progress bar onto the website. So in this tutorial we are going to create a progress bar by using some JavaScript concepts. So without wasting any time, let's directly jump onto the tutorial. So the first thing which we need is going to be the HTML tags. So we type HTML and HTML, and once we have these tags in place, the next tag which we are going to need is going to be the body tag. So we type body and body, and now once we have these tags in place, the next thing which we want to do is that we want to add a progress bar to our body. So in order to do that, we are basically going to need some CSS properties into this. So basically in this tutorial we are going to create the progress bars by using the div tags. So we are going to use two div tags. So the first one is going to be the container of the progress bar, so basically the thing which holds the container together, and then finally inside it we have a bar which moves ahead along with time. So let's go ahead and create them. So we type div, and let's give this div as an ID which is equal to, let's say, my progress. So we type my progress, and let's go ahead and create another div tag, and let's give it an ID of, let's say, my bar. Now let's go ahead and close these div tags. So we type slash div for closing the inner tag and slash div for closing the outer tag. Now once we have these tags in place, the next thing which we want to do is that we want to style these tags so that they don't appear boring and dull, and also we need to specify the width and the height of these tags. So basically we are going to make use of some CSS properties, and if you are not familiar with CSS, then you might have some difficulty in understanding these concepts, but the thing is that the CSS properties are pretty much simple to grasp, so you could understand them if you pay close attention. So let's go ahead and create some properties for them, but the thing is that before writing the properties into the HTML tag, we need to include a style tag so as to write the CSS properties into it. So we type style, the opening tag, and style, the closing tag. Now inside these tags, let's go ahead and define some CSS properties for the two bars. So we type hash my progress, and then we give these two curly brackets, and within these two curly brackets we are going to specify the properties for my progress. So the first property which we are going to specify is going to be the width. So we type width, and let's take that the width is going to be 100%, and the next property which we want is going to be the height. So we type height, and we specify the height to be 20 pixels because I think that it is an appropriate height for a progress bar. Now the next thing which we want to specify is going to be the position. So we type position, and then we equate it to relative. So for this progress bar we are going to use the relative position, and the next thing which we want to specify is going to be the border. So we type border, and for the border we want the width to be 1 pixels. We want the border to be solid, and let's say the color of border is hash CCC. Now we have successfully provided the style to my progress. Now the next thing which we want to do is we want to provide style to my bar. So we type my bar, and make sure that you have the B capital in here. Now once we have these, we specify the properties for these as well. So we type width, and let's give the width as 10 pixels. So let's assume that the initial width of the progress bar is 10 pixels, and let's say the height is going to be 100%. Now as this tag is contained within these tag, So basically when we specify the height to be 100%, that means that the height of this is going to be 20 pixels. So now once we are done with this, the next thing which we want to specify is the position. So for the position of this, we are going to specify absolute. Now once this is done, we specify the background color. So we type background color, and let's say the background color is blue. Now once we are done with this, we are done with the styling of the bars. Now the next thing which we want to do is we need to write some JavaScript code in order to make the bar progress ahead, and also make sure that you have a button over here. So before adding up a button, we give the BR tag in order to leave some space between the progress bar and the button. Now finally we create a button by using the button tag. So we type button, and then we add on click to it, so that when we click a button, the function gets executed. So we are going to leave it blank for now, and also make sure that you name the button something. So let's say click here, and also make sure to close the button tag. Now once this is done, the next thing which we do is we need to write a JavaScript code in order to make the progress bar move ahead. So in order to do that, we go ahead and go down the button, and then we create a tag which is called as the script tag for containing our JavaScript code. So we type script, the opening tag, and script, the closing tag. Now once we have these tags in place, we go ahead and create a function which is basically used in order to progress the progress bar. So we type function, and let's name this function as move. So it basically moves the progress bar. And in this function, the first thing which we want to do is we want to access the my bar. So in order to access that, we type document dot get element by ID, and we want to get the element whose ID is my bar. Now once we have this with us, the next thing which we do is we want to save it into some variable. So let's create a variable, and let's name it as element. Now instead of element, we are going to name it as ELEM. Now once this is done, the next thing is which we want to do is we want to create a variable called width, and let's say the width is 10. Now finally what we want to do is that as the time passes, we want to progress the progress bar a little bit. So in order to do that, we are going to use the set interval function. So the set interval function pretty much accepts two parameters. The first parameter is going to be the function which it is going to execute, and the next thing is going to be the time interval. So we go ahead and create that function. So we type set interval, and to this we are going to pass a function name and then give a comma, and then let's say the time interval is 10 seconds or 10 milliseconds, as this accepts the time in milliseconds. So we specify 10 here, and also we want to save this value into something. So let's say we want to store it in a variable called ID. So we type var ID equals set interval. Now as we want to specify a function here, let's say we name the function as frame. So this frame function right here is going to increment the progress bar's progress a little bit every time the time passes on. So in order to do that, we create a new function. So we are basically going to create a function within a function. So basically we are using the concept of nesting. So we type function, and the function name is frame. So we type frame, and within this function we are going to write a code which is going to increase the size of our progress bar. So we type a condition that if the progress bar is completed, so if width is going to be equal to 100, then we are going to clear the interval. So we type clear interval, and we are going to specify the parameter as ID. And if the progress bar is not full, then we increment the width. So we type width plus plus, and also we type ELEM, which is nothing but this value right here. So this is nothing but the my bar. So ELEM dot style. So as we want to access its style, we type ELEM dot style, and within the style we want to access the width. So we type dot width equals width plus the ampersand sign. Now what this line of code right here does is that it extracts this element based upon the ID, and it extracts its style and then its width, and then finally places this value into the width. So it is basically increment the width every time we are executing this function. Now once everything is done, we go on to our button here and we specify the function name which we want to execute. So on click of the button, we want to specify, or we want to run the move function, so we type move right over here. So once we save the code and execute it on the browser, I think I've made a simple mistake somewhere, so let me check it. Yeah, I got my mistake, so this should be actually this. And now once we save the code, we should be fine, and when we execute it, as you could see, we get a progress bar right here. Now if we click this button, the progress bar is going to progress for us. So that's basically how you create a progress bar by using some simple JavaScript methods. So basically what we have done is that we have created two div tags. So the first one would be the container or the border of the progress bar, and the next one is nothing but the progress bar which progresses ahead with time. So basically we have used the JavaScript function, and in this function we have basically increased the width of the progress bar along with time, and we have also used the set interval function. So the set interval function is basically used in order to execute a function after a certain period of time. So in this case we have specified the time interval as 10 milliseconds. Now if we increase this to 100 and if we check the output now, you could see that when we click it, the progress bar is going to proceed in a much slower fashion, and that is because we have changed the time interval here. So basically you could change the time interval according to your requirements. So this is basically how you create a progress bar, and I hope you guys understood how a progress bar is created by using some simple JavaScript functions. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.